Well,
Okay, well, whatever. This is the final start of it. Okay. There we go. Now we're live, and our audio is working. All right. I don't know why that would be a different button. There's a button for streaming and a button to go live with streaming, and I had honestly don't know why they're separate.
maybe for that like setup period. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess so. Um, well, anyways, everything looks good on my end. I'm gonna wait for confirmation from the folks in chat. Um, yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear us now? Do we? Please tell me something. Okay. Yeah. Jacob said it's working now. Okay. Done with my tea. Danny's here. All right. Gotta do that. Okay. All right. Tabletop Community Spotlight. This is a D&D role-playing related project that probably most of the people in the audience are familiar with, but we explain it every time for people that are new. Um, this was it's not a contest. It's just like we're trying to present work that the community is working on within the RPG design space and homebrew space. We pick a theme each quarter. So this is the theme for quarter one of 2026. So January, February, March. And now we're in March, so we're grading it. Except grading it isn't quite the right word. We're just gonna talk about it because we're trying to make people feel good, not say this is bad.
Yeah, our goal here is really just like, it's in the name. Like we're just here to spotlight other creators in the community and to kind of give awareness. Like everybody learns something from this, so that's kind of why we're doing it.
Yeah.
And we just really looking forward to seeing the submissions for this today. Um, go ahead and get into it, and then at the end we'll announce like the next theme. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So we have 14 written submissions and one video submission for today. So me and Danny are gonna swap off on reading them.
Ooh, okay,
Um,
it's a
we
lot.
should,
That's a good thing.
yeah,
It's a
yeah.
lot.
This is the most we've had so far. But we'll introduce ourselves first. I'm Isaac. I'm the host of the Setting the Stage podcast. So it's a podcast that interviews different DMs about their work and all the cool campaign setting like stuff that they're doing. And I have a few other projects, but that's the main one. So if you're interested, then there's links to go check it out in the description, or I should put them there later if they're not there right now for the live. And
Yeah, and
Danny?
I'm Daniel. I'm working on a game called Metanoia, and I run a blog called Tabletop Discourse. It's just kind of meant to be like a free, anybody can post. Here's, more discussions and thoughts and ideas about designing tabletop RPGs as a whole. So if you want to reach out to me, please do. You can find me on the TFE server pretty easy.
Yep. Yeah, for submitting
Right.
stuff for future spotlights, we'll have a talk about that at the end. This is mostly run through the Tales from Elsewhere Discord server. There's also a bit in my Setting the Stage Discord server, but not very much. Either one's fine for submitting stuff if you like it and want to get involved in the next spotlight. But yeah, I think we are ready, so we'll hop on over to the first PDF. Um, let's see.
Sorry, I'm.
Looks like more than. Oh no, that's right. Jakob, you said this was
Are
like a
you
little
gonna?
over 700. Yeah, I'll do this one.
Okay, no, sorry. I'm just trying to.
Oh,
I feel like
we're on
we're reading
Seeking
them from the
Dao. That's
same.
right. You've got a delay for what you're seeing because it's on the stream.
Okay, yeah. Oh, from YouTube. Yeah, no. Okay, cool. If you want to start, go
Okay,
for it.
so Seeking Dao is RPG inspired by Chinese fantasy genre Xianxia, which focuses on cultivators and their pursuit of self-improvement and immortality. Since the system has no classes, there is no necromancer as such. However, it is possible to have techniques that could be described as necromancy. From a setting perspective, every person has two souls: Hung, the yang and spiritual soul, which leaves the body after death and returns to the cycle of reincarnation, and Po, which is the yin or corporeal soul, which remains in the corpse. Because of this, necromantic techniques can be divided into two types: corpse reanimation, a technique that makes use of the Po to control a dead body and create a jiangshi, a zombie-like creature. These techniques are often connected to the crafting system, since the resulting traits and abilities also depend on the quality of the body. Factors that influence the resulting jiangshi include the specific technique used for reanimation, the place where the body was located before reanimation, and how long. The more yin environment, the better. And any strong emotions the person experienced at the moment of death. Some techniques also allow the use of various materials to strengthen or modify the body. Soul manipulation would be another method. Even more demonic techniques focus on the Hun. They are more vicious because damaging or destroying the Po prevents the person from passing through the cycle of reincarnation and being reborn. These techniques often allow souls to be used as a source of energy for other techniques, or to bind a soul into treasures, such as swords or magical artifacts, to increase their power. Some techniques, however, can affect both souls. For example, techniques that allow someone to possess a body. In Seeking Dao, there is a special category of techniques called cultivation techniques. These allow cultivators to advance to higher levels. Each cultivation technique can have its own prerequisites, benefits, and drawbacks. Some demonic sects use the devouring of other beings' souls as their cultivation technique. If we move away from the theme of death, there are also other types of techniques that are not directly necromantic in theme, but rather in terms of game mechanics, like summoning minions. These are techniques focused on puppet making or creature control. Such techniques, for example, allow a cultivator to create puppets that they directly control, or into which they can insert someone's soul, causing them to function as automatons, or control swarms of insects to attack enemies. Within the rules, minions work quite simply. In the narrative part of the game, they can be used in any way that makes sense within the fiction. In combat, if the player's character is not personally participating in the fight, they function as an independent character. If their master fights with them, the minions manifest as bonuses for the player's character. These bonuses are listed in a specific order. If the enemy successfully attacks your minion, instead of attacking you, you lose the last bonus. If the minion no longer adds any bonus to you, it is destroyed or unable to act any longer. These bonuses can be passive. Each turn, minion takes one light attack against each enemy in striking distance to you, and your techniques cost one less chi. They could be triggered, where whenever you injure an opponent, you increase the severity of injury by 1 level. Or when you're injured, you can negate the injury and destroy this minion instead. So like jumps in the way and takes a blow from you. Or reactive, limited by reaction tokens, but are used based on the player's decision. Your puppets can use their reaction token when the enemy is trying to move away from you to stop the movement, or your jiangshi can use its reaction token at the end of the turn to make a severe attack on one enemy. Beyond these bonuses, minions may also have various tags that affect other game interactions. For example, jiangshi may be vulnerable to attacks aligned with the yang element, and a thunder spirit could be immune to lightning. This offers a wide range of ways to interact with the game world. Players may wish to create an army of resentful spirits, so they might first try to provoke anger or fear in their enemies, then kill them and use them for their own purposes. Other players may search for better materials to repair and upgrade their puppets, or track and tame various spirit beasts. Okay. I mean, I feel like a lot of these, what we're going to run into, are going to be like broad strokes, because necromancy can be very involved. And that's what this feels like to me. Like if we did this for D&D, like there's a couple different spells that summon, different undead. But then it's like, okay, we're presenting a spell, and it's...
Sorry, are you getting a bunch of background noise from me? My bad.
A little bit. So we're presenting a spell, but the spell by itself isn't really what necromancy. It's just like a single spell, and then all the undead are kind of what necromancy is. So I knew that was kind of where we were getting for this. But this one is like a good take on it for Chinese spiritual, like having the split souls and having those be more defined for what the type of necromancy that you're doing. Like we're sort of used to this within D&D with like there's physical like zombies and skeletons, and then there's like ghosts and specters and that kind of thing for the spiritual side. Um, so that's fairly normal. It's just a different wording for it. Um, I think the difference here is I believe usually the Hun is portrayed as like a sort of positive spirit. So having it be trapped as like a vengeful spirit um, is different than what I think that my understanding of that is. But I'm also read like one book on this, and I'm sure Jakob has read other ones as well. So um,
Yeah. Sorry, had to relocate.
yep, yep. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's a great entry. I think you're right. Like, I think we're going to see a lot of broad strokes. But I do think one of the other things is like we're going to see how people kind of treat and mechanize summons, because that's kind of a lot of the core of necromancy,
Mm-hmm.
at least in that kind of conception of it. So
Right. Yeah.
I think that's something really interesting to see. I think, um, especially in context to Yakubo's game, I think it makes a lot of sense for things to be mechanized in this fashion, where they're either like you're either controlling it mainly, or it's just small bonuses for you if you're fighting with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that makes a lot of sense to keep the kind of like dueling aspects that occur within his combat system. So, super cool entry.
Yeah. The
Obviously, there's
yin
more
yang.
depth to it in the crafting system that I think will probably show a bit more of the fun of his game, or like the flavor of it, that he just couldn't get into here because of the word count.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
awesome. I'm
Yeah.
glad you submitted.
The yin yang component I think is also a good split, since
Yeah.
there's other rules within his system for that that also are not presented here, but I've read about them.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
You want to pick the next one, Danny?
Yes. Sorry. Let me get to the channel. Um, all right. We'll go ahead and just do. Um, I'll do Sentinel from Tuxxle.
All right.
Um, just let me know when you get that.
Yeah, I got it. I got them all pulled up already. I'm
Okay.
ready to go.
Okay. It's me. All right. So my Sentinel TTRPG, or my TTRPG Sentinel, builds on similar groundwork to 5e, like how Pathfinder emerged from 4e. And Sentinel provides grittier, faster combats with one roll attacks in a classic Celtic fantasy setting tonally, compared to I'm butchering the name of that.
I don't know what that
Um,
is.
yeah, I've heard of the game. I don't think I've actually read it.
Okay.
But Sentinels monsters. GMs control monster stat blocks by spending action points AP in the rightmost column. The top of that column lists total AP monsters can spend each turn. More challenging monsters, measured by weight class, have higher AP, meaning bosses are resilient against players' spells and weapons that stun by reducing AP. Like players, monsters have dodge dice, which you roll against an incoming attack, evading it if you roll higher than the attack. Absorption. You reduce damage you take of a 4-letter type: bash, hack, stab, acid, cold, fire by absorption. Player absorption and dodge depend on armor and hit points. All right, we've got a couple of stat blocks here. So absorption, or dodge is a chance. Okay. So immunities, resistances, and vulnerabilities function like they do in D&D, and they apply resistances after reducing damage. Resistance vulnerability can apply to conditions, granting rolls against those conditions to have a greater or lesser effect.
So this is applying
Like,
after reducing damage with absorption, I'm assuming, for that wording.
yeah,
Okay.
I think that's right. Effect is like advantage in D&D. It only stacks up to +3. You roll 3 extra dice and ignore the 3 lowest results, or down to 3. Okay. Reflexive is a common trait, letting monsters move without provoking backslashes or opportunity attacks in D&D's language.
Mm-hmm.
When it becomes bloodied or reaches half health, reflexive monster or also lets monsters get out of melee, making players rethink their strategy, especially since good melee damage builds proximity bonus from staying close for multiple turns.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay, attacks are phrased as 1. Okay, so 1d8 plus 3 hack. Adding exploding dice results before totaling. If it hits, you add the modifier, dealing damage to the type. Dodge dice can also explode. Okay, that's interesting. The Gravecaller's Sacrificial Dirk, meaning the stacks lists like plus 2e, meaning the attack roll gets additional effect. Roll 3d4, ignore the 2 lowest results. With a positive effect, maximum die results you ignore can add dice to the total with exploding dice results. So effect doesn't apply to dice added from explosions, but it does impact it actually. Bearing and Resolve represent the other save equivalents. Both use a d12. Bearing represents hardiness and strong footing. Resolve is made against magical emotions and controls. Monsters add weight class to Resolve, meaning more challenging monsters are more difficult to magically control. Players add stats. Monsters make players bear or resolve against a threshold and passive saves. Sorry,
Okay, so bear is kind of like the equivalent of fortitude, and resolve is kind of the equivalent of will saves from D&D. If we're doing that, like
yeah,
crossover, I've got similar stuff in my system, so that's common.
Yeah, sorry, I'm looking for this. Maybe it's just not loading for me, but it says there's like, okay, there's passive saves, AoE attacks at first look like attack rolls, advantage only against each creature, followed by the geometry. AoEs by default originate from the monster creating them, with 1 attack roll against the dodge of everyone in the area. Charge is something that... Okay, sorry, I don't think it's either like not loading for me, or is there any like more necromancy specific?
There's a picture at the end, but no, I think what we're presenting
Yeah.
is the monsters themselves. So the Gravecaller is the monster that's presented as our Necromancer.
Okay. All right. Then. Okay. So we've read a bunch of the explanation. I'd like to actually dig on that because I think that's like.
Yeah.
More.
So what we
So
got is
we've got the grave.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking for this one. Go ahead.
Yep. Yeah. So it has a pretty decent dodge die. It's got a lot of absorption and a lot of hit points and a few immunities and a few resistances. Reflexes, right? So it can get out of the way. It's moving 10 feet per 1 AP, so it could potentially move a lot during a single round. You've got Sacrificial Dirk. Okay. All right. Sorry, this is coming together. I don't know why, but I read this and my brain just didn't catch on that the Gravecaller was the monster we were presenting.
I
was
didn't catch
a
it
little
either,
confused for
but
a second there.
it's all right. This is the presentation. The rest of it was, I guess, the
Is,
appendix on how to understand it.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think this monster's pretty cool, and I don't know like effectively how like for the like hit points necessarily how much that is. It feels like a medium difficulty monster
Yeah.
that can kind of move and deal some area damage, and it can spawn zombies.
Well, it
So
costs 2 charge to do that, so it has to charge twice to be able to use the prayer. So that's why it was talking about
right.
charge down here, is you have to charge up an attack.
Okay.
So it has to it basically costs an extra 2 actions that it has to use on a previous turn to charge.
Yeah. I think one thing that's a little unclear is like when zombies can get made. Is it like they get made if it kills an enemy, or they get made if it kills some creature in the game? But I feel like this is a pretty fun, like with that like addition, like in that assumption, I think it makes a ton of sense, and it'd be a fun little like you're basically like taking a little thing of plague and it can propagate against your players. So if they don't deal with it quickly, it becomes a big issue.
Well, it says that all of the zombies spawned by this monster die. So all the ones it had created previously die, and then it creates new ones. Um,
Right.
so
So maybe this runs with like, I guess this starts with a few zombies then, which is why that's
yeah, and
kind of
then
presented with
the
it.
players
Yeah.
start
Okay.
killing
That's good
them, and
context.
then it basically kind of refreshes the number, and
Yeah.
you you realize, oh, we actually have to kill this thing and not the zombies. The zombies are just in the way.
Right.
But it also has reflexive, so that if you try and get close to
Can't
it
get
to kill
away.
it in melee, it's going to keep running away from you, and it frightens people with its basic attack
So
thing.
that it can't get close.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is a pretty fun monster. It's got a
Yeah.
lot of like things that players have to go overcome,
Yeah.
and it's gonna keep throwing zombies at them.
Yeah.
I like it.
And the zombies are good too. They're grabbing people, but they also have like only basically
Yeah,
one attack per turn with the AP count, so they're not very fast. You could just run away from them.
yeah. I feel like Gravecaller could have more zombies if you just wanted to scale it up with players, but I don't have enough context on Sentinel to
Yeah,
say if
yeah.
that become
I don't
where
I
that
don't know
becomes
what weight class
balanced.
6 means in terms of like challenge.
Yeah,
I mean,
like how
once you know the
powerful
system,
things
of
are.
course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. We appreciate the entry, Tuxxle. Thanks for putting that in.
All right. Brief interlude.
All
I
right.
was trying to stream this on TikTok and it is completely failing. So I'm going to cut that stream
Okay.
so I'm not wasting resources on that.
Give me 1 second. I'm gonna also close the door.
But yeah, that was a good
Oh,
submission. Thanks, Tuxel. Okay, next up, let's do Kobe. This is from Epic Power. All right, Daniel, we're going to do Kobe, head of the temple, from Epic Power next. All right. So here's the appendix down here, which is more rules about necromancy. And here's the sort of description. All right. Necromancy is a public service. It's usually obvious how an evil cleric benefits from being evil, but what's in it for their followers, ordinary people who don't cast spells? Being on the receiving end of evil magic is generally not very appealing. I wanted a counterpoint to the non-evil temples in town, an evil temple with a public presence and with followers. The Temple of Justice, headed by Kobe here, was my answer. There's a necromancy spell that it performs as a public service. The spell does come with a catch, and we don't need to talk about what happens in secret beneath the Temple of Justice. But Kobe can walk the streets, head held high, even if people tend to give him a wide berth. Supplicants come to the temple because they feel someone has wronged them and the legal system hasn't helped. They insist that they deserve justice. For a donation, Kobe can cast just the spell, Sympathetic Ailment. He can cause any ailment, mental or physical, as long as it's non-contagious, non-lethal, and reversible. But it's a necromantic spell, and like all necromantic spells in the custom system the campaign uses, Unleash Your Epic Story, it only gets its main effect by harming somebody. In Sympathetic Ailment's case, it has to first give the ailment to a sacrificial victim before it can then give it to its main target. And the sacrificial victim has to be in the caster's complete control for the minute it takes to cast the spell. Where does Kobe find the sacrificial victim needed to give a supplicant justice? Why, it's the supplicant, of course. Yes, the supplicant has to get the same ailment they wish on someone else. Kobe smoothly explains this is sort of a cosmic karma. Both parties must feel the justice. Usually the supplicant is some modest person who has been wronged by a powerful person and who has no other recourse. They feel their grievance strongly enough to be willing to suffer the ailment they want to inflict. And with a clever choice of ailment, it can be much worse for the target than for the supplicant. Fear of horses against the knight who killed their child. Poor vision against the scribe who defrauded them out of their house. While most people find the Temple of Justice unsavory, they also recognize that it provides a valuable check on the abuse of power. Anyone in power has to think twice before abusing someone else so badly that the victim would seek justice from Kobe. and every time Kobe provides justice, 2 townspeople suffer. His god loves that. Plus, the Temple of Justice provides Kobe with a base of operations for which much less savory things go on below it. Okay.
This is really clever world building. I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I think also this kind of faction. Sorry, I'm going to talk about the world building a little here. I think this kind of faction kind of is a gray kind of faction, right? They have evil intents, but they're allowed. I say they're gray. Like, they're still accepted by society, and that's at least why I'm translating them as gray. But I get that, Kobe could be doing some very evil things also, but the society views them as gray, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a really clever world building to have necromancy appear like this. And I watched this video by like Religion for Breakfast, I think, where he like talked through like how magic actually presented in the ancient world. And talked about some of this, and I think this is like a really awesome way to execute on the kinds of concepts he talks about. I don't want to get too much into them, but I think the world building is really cool here, even without getting into some of the mechanics below. Yeah, just awesome concept.
Yeah. Quick dive into the mechanics. It's a spell. The main problem is it's a spell that has a casting time of 1 minute. Which basically means you need to have someone who is willing to have a cast on them or tie them down.
Right.
And yeah, it basically does what it says it does. Or further up.
Yeah.
No need to get into the rules specifically.
Yeah.
But man, this is a long spell for the system, honestly.
It's a big paper button. But like, because of its specificity, there's a lot of fun ways you can use this. I think it's pretty fun. I'm gonna have to give his game a little bit more, or their game a little more to read.
Yeah. It's called Epic Power. It's on itch. And
Okay.
it's kind of GURPS-like for how it plays and how you build characters.
All right.
You're up next.
Yeah.
Picking.
We will go ahead and do insight for insight's Necromancer for Sworne. Their game Sworne.
All right.
Ooh,
got it.
Nice little.
Yeah, good title page.
Cover page.
Right.
Nice. Hey, you got to get that ad placement in there. Good job.
All right.
I was thinking 3 steps ahead. All right. So the basics of Sworne. Sworne does not use classes. Instead, characters grow through their 4 core attributes: strength, dex, int, and faith. Summoner build focuses on intelligence. Higher intelligence unlocks higher tiers and more reliable spirit conjuration. And the result is a playstyle built around battlefield control and commanding a growing spectral horde. Sworne is a card-based game. Okay. And so I'll briefly explain how spellcasting works and then go to the specifics of the summoning mechanics. Powers in Sworne are resolved through a push your luck system inspired by Blackjack. To activate a power, draw cards from the standard deck of cards, values 1 through 13, and add their values together. Your goal is to draw as many cards as possible without exceeding your governing attribute, intelligence in this case. So if your intelligence is 15, drawing 2 7s leaves you at 14, and drawing another card would be extremely risky, but could potentially lead to 2 additional cards drawn. Do you take the risk?
Okay, so it's like going bust in Blackjack. Okay.
Yeah, it's literally Blackjack. Safe resolve. If your total remains below your attribute, the power succeeds, right? The effect scales based on how many cards you drew, rewarding players who push their luck. So if I'm reading that right, if like let's say you drew a bunch of 2s and 3s and aces, right, as 1s. The number of cards scales the effect too. Just not just being under it. That's pretty cool.
So having like 5 cards is super powerful. It's like a crit.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
if your total exceeds your attribute, the power fails, becomes exhausted, and the caster suffers a catastrophic failure, representing the physical backlash of uncontrolled magic. Aces, a critical draw. So when you draw an ace, you get a free draw, allowing the caster to strengthen the effect without the risk, increasing the risk of
Oh,
a
okay.
bust. So you get to like draw another card, but it doesn't count towards the total. That's pretty slick.
Yeah.
For spirit summoning, spirits summon collectively form a horde. The horde moves and attacks using the summoner's action economy. Okay, so this is it doing something on behalf of you, using your turn. The horde functions as a single entity rather than individual units. Each spirit contributes to the horde's overall resilience, how much damage the horde can sustain. Damage, they deal true damage that ignores armor because they're spirits, probably. Unique traits, so, okay, effects provided by specific spirits. Most spirits remain until the horde's total resilience reaches 0, though enemies may target individual spirits. All summons vanish if the summoner's vigor reaches 0, the summoner rests, or the summoner leaves a dungeon realm.
Okay, that's an interesting rule.
And
Dungeon realm.
then you've got a bunch of draw numbers.
Yeah, so if you draw only 2
Oh,
cards,
okay.
you get like a black dog.
Right. If you draw 4, you get a swarm, surge at 5. Okay, so this should like basically you this is kind of cool where like with abilities he's built out degrees of success to this kind of effect, right? In that
Yeah.
way, or sorry, it's not degree. There's degrees of success, but it's also number of successes kind of turns into um, like different abilities in some way because the Smiling Fox and the Black Knight are very different in play and feel. Um, but yeah, the summoner strategy is typically to build a stable horde using lesser spirits, then risk more powerful draws to unleash devastating effects.
Yeah, like the Black Knight would be an example of like that one's. It's like a leader of the swarm, so all the dogs, the
Right.
wolves, and the swarm get like more powerful.
This is and he's got a little thank you. Thank you. We're happy that you submitted. This is a really cool entry. And if you haven't talked to One Side Too Many about gambling as mechanics, I think you should.
Yeah,
Y'all both maintain an interest there, but this is
I
really
think they
fun.
have.
Okay, good. I'm glad they've connected. The but yeah, this is a really fun way, I think, to honestly, one of the things that I don't know a lot about is how to do like card-based functions in TTRPGs. I just haven't taken the time to go learn it. So it's really fun to see this entry and to get an idea of like
Yeah,
how they're using resolutions. And I really like the like, yes, all right, we're going to use established like mechanics of card games that exist today. I think it's really elegant and it's really easy to learn too because most people know how to play blackjack, right? Like
yeah,
that's a super cool way to handle this.
yeah, yeah.
So
This was very
awesome
easy to
work, man.
understand. Not just like the activating powers, but also reading this is pretty easy.
Yeah,
So, and this is also super compact for all the information it's presenting.
honestly, yeah,
Um,
excellent entry.
yeah, and I can also imagine like how like Gloomhaven has this effect where you like start taking bad cards out of your deck or putting in more good cards to make it
Oh
more
yeah,
effective. So that might be something that this game does as well, where like you can add another ace to your deck or remove the face cards because it looks like lower cards are better for this. So you want to take out the face cards. You normally wouldn't want to do that in blackjack because they're useful for
r-
counting, but
right. Awesome. Well, we appreciate this is a great entry.
yeah,
We appreciate the little thank you here too.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
that's a cool one.
all right.
All right, I'm gonna do the Lich by Roger Pelicano next. Okay, we have a story section and a game section down here, and then a little write up on it. Okay, and a little, little drawing too. All right. The Lich is the pinnacle of the undead, a master magus who is so skilled they were able to shatter the laws of death themselves. To even begin this process, a prospective Lich must be a master of magic, an archmage with deep knowledge of the ways of the arcane. The next step is devising a ritual to bind the mage's soul to a phylactery. The exact ritual is unique to each Lich, but every single one is complex, dangerous, and requires obscene amounts of mana. If any step of this ritual is messed up, the would-be Lich is reduced to a shambling husk, their soul torn and lost to the void. If successful, however, the reborn Lich becomes an immortal master of the undead, unmoved by the ages of the world and able to return if they are ever slain. This immortality comes with two costs, however. The first is a paranoia over their phylactery. If the Lich's phylactery is destroyed, their next death is final, and Skalligan's wrath will be fierce for this ultimate blasphemy. Don't know what that is. To avoid this, Liches always take extreme measures to protect their phylactery, ensuring that no one but them can access it. They must be able to access their phylactery, however, as the second cost is that this immortality must be maintained. Liches must sacrifice the lives of other living creatures, feeding their souls to their phylactery to keep the binding magic from consuming the Lich's own soul to fuel itself. Much to the chagrin of Liches, this means that they cannot simply seal themselves away to enact their plans and must periodically go out to collect souls. A single soul can fuel the phylactery for several years, but that is the blink of an eye to an immortal. So they often try to collect multiple souls at once so they can feed their phylactery for decades, if not centuries. Okay, pretty standard Lich stuff there. Alright, Industrial Strength Heroism, woo! D12 roll under system. When using a Drained Soul, the Lich rolls a D12, and the number has to be lower than its mind of 10, then the attack is a success. If it's over 10, it's a failure. 12 is a crit fail, 1 is a crit success, and the Lich rolls equal to its mind on that roll. It's a mixed success, so a 10 would be a mixed success.
Right.
Armor is your defense. Each round at the start of turn, you gain guard equal to your armor. I'm remembering this now from when I interviewed Roger a while ago. If you take damage, your guard absorbs it until you have no guard left, at which point any damage reduces your HP. Features are passive traits that affect the creature. Attacks and abilities are combat actions. You get one attack and one ability per round, as well as your movement. And spells work on a mana point system. So we have the Rot Bomb, costs 17 mana to cast because the Lich spends 9 mana on 88 damage, 5 on making the spell a burst, 1 on making the spell do void damage, and 2 on inflicting the weakened condition to anyone hit by the spell. Okay, so you got like spell building stuff. Rank is a measure of how strong a monster is, just like challenge rating. So a group of 4 PCs would take on a group of 4 monsters of equal rank as a decent fight. The Lich as a rank 9 monster is an endgame threat because players only go up to rank 10, level 10.
Okay.
Loot can be harvested from the body for crafting, and the Lich may also have loot in their lair. So what's on here, the character sheet is just what's on their body. And Skalligan is the god of death, so that's the name I was confused about before, but that makes total sense that they would not like undead, as it says here. Alright, and the actual Lich, here we are. Okay, so it's got a high mind, endurance, agility, and presence. Those are all decently high, since we're doing D12s for this. Strength is low, awareness is kind of middle. We've got the phylactery power we were talking about. As an undead legion. So it can summon 2 skeletons per turn, or tell one of its undead allies to make an attack. Okay, so it's gonna have minions no matter what.
Yep.
It's got a mana pool of 60 for its spells, of which there's a whole bunch here. Necrotic Claw is its basic attack for hitting people next to it. 6d10 void damage, and the target is weakened. That seems like a lot of damage. So it's got 90 HP, so I'm assuming that's kind of on par for a level 9 PC. So 60-10 is going to hit for about 30 damage on average, and so it's about a third of an HP for a character. But there's also the armor component. But I'm guessing void damage bypasses armor. Did that say that up here? No, it didn't.
Don't think it did.
Yeah. Maybe I should zoom in a little bit there. There we go. Off center, but fine. Bone staff, it just bops people on the head with their staff for damage. Deathly bolt, 14 mana, does a bunch of void damage. 6 hex bolt. Oh, so it's like a lightning bolt, not like a Eldritch blast. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of these are. One thing I'm noticing in the attacks is a lot of these are like big mana cost, except for like Empower. I think it's interesting that a lot of the like smaller things are tucked away either into abilities or into features.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's pretty elegant as a whole. It keeps some of that like, oh, I have to remember to do like, or like it keeps like bloated action economies from occurring from the standpoint of like having to like make different action economies in that challenge.
Yeah, these are very like compact abilities. Like it just has the cost, the damage, and like a truncated version of like the area of effect.
I think the like manner of the writing of this is really, really good from that like compacting on the character sheet, and I really like it.
Yeah, I'm just comparing this like Arcane Explosion to like Fireball in D&D.
Oh, yeah.
Like they're almost the same thing for how they work, but this is just squish it down as much as possible, explain all the relevant rules somewhere else.
So much cleaner. Yeah. Also, with the I think the presenting the lore, at least in the mechanics of it, and why I think that's helpful, because like if you're taking this as a GM and trying to apply it in a game, this will help a lot with just like running the monster, not in combat, but also like in the world itself.
Yeah, it has an inbuilt motivation to like drain people's
actually
souls.
Go do evil things, right?
Yeah, and it also has an ability that drains people's souls to give it power. The drained soul like gives it more mana for casting more of these bomb spells.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really put together. Yeah, thanks, Roger.
Yeah, I think like Drain Soul, I think is such a broken ability in such a great way.
But it doesn't deal very much damage. Like 46 void damage is going to be like 10 damage at this point on creatures that have 90 HP and 40 armor. That the armor is like upgrading their guard every turn, and maybe the void damage bypasses that. That's how I'm reading this. I'm not sure. No, Roger said it doesn't in the chat. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So.
So it's doing almost no damage with that ability, but it is getting it more mana to cast another one of the big spells.
Right, I'm just thinking about the economy of it, and basically, once you've gotten through players' armor, you're returning on average like 14 mana every time you use that ability, which is a lot. Like, I mean, that's another Deathly Bolt that you can cast. Yeah. And each turn you get an ability and an attack. So you're basically like this creature basically is able to like not drain their mana pool, even though it feels like it's not a huge mana pool for the amount of like
yeah, it's only like 3 of the big spells because they're more expensive than 15 out of the 4 parts for 60.
Sorry, I'm having trouble locating how much mana the Lich actually has.
Bottom left of the features, it has 60.
Okay. Yeah, because it'd be like 4 abilities basically, and then the Lich would be out of mana as a whole. But that kind of solves the issue.
Yeah, no, it's a strong monster.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it's also dependent on how strong the player characters are, because we're looking at the big bad side here.
Yeah. if they have enough armor, it's probably not gonna be too bad. If the Lich has like abilities to like get through that armor, that's probably like the tipping point.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, super cool.
Yeah. I think something we also just overlooked here is that it also flies.
Oh yeah, it has a 5. I'm assuming that's like a 5 hex fly speed, which would be like the translation into like 5e or something.
Yeah.
It's a lot of distance.
Yeah. That basically means you need to be able to fly if you're gonna hit it with swords.
Catch up with this thing.
All right, cool. You got the next one?
Yes, I'm pulling up the Verve.
All right.
Paul in his game.
Yeah. So Paul had some videos that went along with this for the written side, but
Okay.
but there was also like 1 minute sections of two different videos. So I was messaging him in the chat saying just it'd be kind of complicated to present like two different sections of videos and a written thing all together. So I asked him to just
Right.
put it into this. Um, so he took some screen caps from the videos for the little graphics here and wrote out the text for me. Very nice, thank you. Um, for us, for everybody. Um, and just to point out that there are videos that explain these concepts if people are interested in them and want to learn more. But yeah, go ahead, Danny.
Alrighty. Bervic, Undeath, and Necromancy. Necromancy. What is the Verve? The Verve is a science fantasy magic system based on a new force medium which only interacts with a new fundamental particle called pivots. When pivots move or are charged, they generate waves which have magical effects. The amplitude determines the power, the frequency determines the spell type. High frequencies affect photons and electrons, medium affects thermal, and low frequencies impacting pressure and whole objects. And finally, those waves can be modulated to encode secondary effects. Okay, we've got little wave properties. Cool, that helps. Okay, we've got a little table of the target object resonance. So psychic, electrical, glacial, thermal, sonic, kinetic, necromancy. Some high frequency, specifically, spellcasters can stimulate the nerves of a creature to control their movements, called either puppetry or hypnosis. The same technique used on a corpse is necromancy. Because the creature is dead, this is considerably harder than puppetry, as you need to both control the moment and provide the energy for those movement and the energy for those movements. Some use mechanical or biological aids in necromancy. It is extremely taboo. An insult to the deceased requires much focus and, like he said, the mechanical biological aid. It does not ordinarily limit the decomposition of the corpse, so the raised puppets only last so long as the body remains intact. And mechanically, puppetry requires using a continuous effect slot similar to concentration in D&D, but you can have multiple. It allows you to control that creature on the battlefield, costing you 1 flow each round, reducing your action economy. And any effort exerted by a puppet is spent from the player character or the necromancer's stamina and morale.
I wouldn't say it reduces the action economy. It prevents it from being broken. Like summons are
Right.
usually thought of as like breaking the action economy because then the summoner gets to act on for their turn and the summon's turn. By requiring the summoner to use actions, you prevent that problem from occurring.
Yeah. Um, I mean, that's always the like big thing if you really do want to treat those entities as independent, right? Is just bloated action economy,
Mm-hmm.
which is why most don't. Which is, it makes the table playable. Um, Saproseps. Decomposition is a chemical process which releases energy, and under the right conditions, this energy can be emitted as vervic waves. Saproseps, a saprotrophic fungi, is particularly adept at making use of this. If the ground below a cemetery gets infected with this fungus, the mold consumes the bodies and uses the produced high-frequency waves to create ghostly illusions in the shapes of those buried below. and these things cause vervic decomposition. They're typically psychic and photonic, and they often cause illusions.
So
Depending on the subspecies. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
sapro is meaning like wisdom here, so it's like a fungus that eats brainwaves, kind of, and then also emits like these sort of ghost illusion brainwave kind of things, because that's kind of what the wavelength they're on is what I'm getting from this.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's just like the mechanism for like, yeah, there's ghosts haunting this place, is these fungi that use the verve to do that.
Yeah, we're trying to do science with it though. We have frequencies and we have fungus things that are making ghosts instead
Yeah,
of.
I like the attention to detail on
Yeah.
that. It's kind of fun where like from a GM perspective, if you have this in your world, the player's like, well, what happened to the ghosts? You're like, what ghosts? You can just troll them the entire way, and
Well, it's also
like
interesting
just the
because it means to
presentation
make
of it.
a ghost, you just need like a body and a fungus. Like,
Yeah,
I miss my dog, so I go to the store and get a little bit of fungus and put it on my dog's body, and then I get to play with my ghost dog again.
except your except your dog slowly paralyzes you and kills you mechanically.
Eh,
Is,
it's
yeah, I
worth
think
it.
some of the formatting on the document is weird. Maybe it's just me because I'm on a tablet. Google Docs is lovely, converting from PC to tablet.
Yeah, I downloaded them
The
all as
other,
PDFs to avoid that problem.
yeah, the lichenoids are like a cousin. They're a cousin of saproseps, and they're like symbiotes. And it attaches to organic matter parasitically. These amalgam creatures are lycanthropes. Oh, that's excellent. Points to
Mm,
you, my good sir.
I thought that's
Uh,
maybe where this was
I love
going.
it. It merges the mycelium network with muscle and nerve, so it gives the creatures like greater strength and mental abilities. The lichenous coating on the skin makes them more resilient to damage, but in exchange, the host must provide a constant supply of nutrients and therefore gains a ravenous hunger, which drives them to madness and violence. Their bites spread the disease to new hosts.
This is exactly like the
Mechanically,
zombies in uh, what is that series? I'm forgetting the name of it.
there's so many of them that are like that.
Well, there's
I
the one that had like the TV show and
Walking Dead or
no, there was a video game first, and that had like the zombies were a fungal infection.
oh, The Last of Us, right?
Thank you. Yes, that's it.
Yes. Um, Mechanically, lichenoid transformation can be applied to any creature, increasing 3 of their 4 stats by 1 and gaining a additional continuous effect slot. They then lose their sense of self and must consume twice as much as normal to avoid malnutrition.
All right, yeah. I mean,
Liches.
that's how zombies
Yeah,
are in real life. That's how Last of Us got it. Was
yeah,
that there are some insects that get infected with fungus and act that way.
yeah. Liches are those that voluntarily go through that process, trying to maintain some agency, but it requires extensive cultivation of the lichen species and a difficult implanting ritual, or they become lycanthropes. And they often focus more on more magically powerful strains, empowering their spell generation and maintenance. And the strains typically use primarily, they primarily drain iron from the body. Oh, so liches kind of become vampires,
Okay.
because they thirst from blood. They also tend to be particularly adept at necromantic puppetry and may implant some fragment of their lichen into a corpse to aid in the puppetry process and strengthen the body so it lasts longer. Okay. I see how all of the specificity is coming together there into like a cohesion. I think that's really cool. Um, and then mechanically, Lich transformation is similar to a lichenoid, but they get a continuous effect slot and they gain 1 flow each round. They also gain proficiency and training in spellcasting. Rotwalkers are when a lichenoid dies, the parasite drains it of resources, and what remains is an undead creature called a Rotwalker. So now dead, the body starts to decay while the lichen puppets in it or search for a new host body. Over time, the creature becomes more and more composed of mycelium, their fragments of flesh, bones stitched together by fungal sinew. Only when the body is destroyed and burned is it finally gone for good. I think this is some really fun world building overall, and just like very much leaning into the science fantasy magic system.
Yeah.
This has like all the right tone for that. I think it's super fun that like you could unleash this on players, and because you have that kind of specificity about how it works, say, hey, come up with a cure. Or like that could be like a thing that you could kind of narrate, because there is that, and it's not a lot of work on a GM necessarily to bring that into existence because you've done all of that
Yeah.
groundwork.
Yeah.
It feels very scientific, and I like it.
Yeah, some of these are definitely more like a disease that like, yeah, there's potentially a cure for it with like the right fungicide medication or something,
Right.
or the right type of magic. Well, I'm curious what Paul would do with Archaea in his system. It's another sort of weird real life biological thing that could have some strange effects.
Well, we'll have to do another one in relation.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that was an excellent entry, Paul. Thanks for putting another one in.
Yeah, yeah. Love the pictures. Thank you very much. These are
Yes,
very
honestly,
helpful for
the pictures and the Verve explanation helped ground a lot of this. I think that was like absolutely the right thing to include there.
Yeah.
Or who we do next?
Next, we'll do Pivot by DTIMAL. All right. Let's see. Oh, there's been a rework of the rules since we read this last. Okay. Pivot is a tactical, action, roleplay, grimdark, medieval fantasy, 2d6 system TTRPG based on the idea of a fantasy world that fell from a highly developed 16th to 17th century-like Enlightenment age and centuries later into a dark, barbaric, and religious world reminiscent of the collapse of the Western Roman Empire to the early medieval period transition age. In Pivot, Necromancer is a archtrade. I never know how to say that. Subclass, branch of the Thaumaturge Trade Ledger, maincaster profession. Pivot uses a profession-based progression system built around trade ledgers. Each main profession has its own trade ledger, a structured list of abilities and features players unlock using trade points from each main profession ledger. Players may specialize or into multiple archtrades if they meet the requirements, similar to prestige classes in D&D 3.5. These skills upgrade upon each tier up, with some skills being general, such as languages, crafting, or combat training, and progress mostly by RP, and most being profession exclusive with point buy systems. So there's different rankings for different skills, and the better ones cost more points. Looks like you can have up to 5 professions, and each gives you 3 points for things. Alright, I'm going to skip past that because I don't think, I mean, it's probably relevant for playing, but not for reading what we're doing now. Let's see, terms. Okay. VP equals hit points. TP is tempo or Thauma points, which is the pool that's used for energy using abilities like techniques or casting of any Thaumacraft uses. And MP is the resource for mental attack negation or mind-related abilities. So it's if at 0, any mental attacks effects into VP and TP and can't be replenished until MP is above 1. Okay, so if your MP is reduced, then you start taking damage to like your TP or your VP, and you can't fix that damage until you have MP again. Okay. Favor and disfavor. This is the version of advantage for this system. We're using D6. and it looks like it stacks.
The
Right?
roll of 3 that we saw in the other system that we looked at the beginning.
Yeah, same thing here. That was Sentinel.
Check
Yeah.
here.
Yep.
Yeah, Sentinel. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Skip on down to Thaumaturgy. Is the practice of miracles and is the general term for those magical phenomena and pivot. Being the catch-all, however, evil Thaumaturgy or occultish Thaumaturgy is a derogatorily termed witchcraft, and the man-made theoretical-based formulaic Thaumaturgy is termed polycraft to differentiate each other, as witchcraft and Thaumaturgy are technically part of the same whole, while polycraft is its own system, but has elements of Thaumaturgy due to its being an artificial offshoot. Before the Enlightenment, so that's before the sort of descent into barbarity that was described earlier, Thaumaturgy was granted to humanity by the will of the gods, or God. The belief created the miraculous and the impossible to become real, water into wine, healing the injured, raising the dead. Society was controlled by these miracles, and the most pious, the priesthood, elected rulers and directed them as their puppets in the shadows, and being mighty and good to the common folk. Is this going to get to necromancy here? I'm going to skip down because this still feels like the appendix section, so I'm trying to get to the meaty part. Okay, here we go. The Necromancer Arctrade. All right. And techniques I think we already described a bit earlier, but okay. So to become a necromancer, you have to already have the thaumaturge profession. So you already have to be a wizard. Then you take the necromancy extra profession on top of that. Thaumaturge is kind of the wizard equivalent. You have to witness the death of a significant figure in your life or had laid at death's door, been at 0 VP. Okay, that's interesting. So you have to have like felt death's hand, sort of either on a relative or yourself.
More of those like role-playing requirements, I think, are one of the most fun things about prestige class kind of implementations.
Yeah, this is cool. Have a tool of personal worth that can channel dark and manifestal Thaumaturgy as a focus. Okay, you have to have the tools to do necromancy. Makes sense. Have at least 5 TP and 10 MP. Fine. Occult knowledge, skill proficiency. Know at least 1 dark and manifestal Thaumaturgy incantation. So you have to have a doorway into necromantic spells.
Right.
All right. If you've mastered in 1 necromancer trade skill, the necromancer gains the following. Any dark or manifestal Thaumaturgy learning is done with favor. Anything rolled related to necromancy is with favor. Your presence is permanently tainted with death. Doesn't feel like a game effect, but okay. Just compared to the other ones.
We'll come back to that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a cool idea, but it's just like it's nestled inside all of these like sort of mechanical things.
Yeah. I think features like that are I think they're really cool, but they're very dependent on the GM to kind of role play it into the world.
Yeah.
So at the right table, it's absolutely awesome, right? Like other thaumaturgists feel like something's off with that guy. They reek of death, or like just those kinds of moments where in that moment characters and players get to kind of feel the world with different senses than normal.
Yeah, like really
I think that's
tight, really tight skin is one I can think of to demonstrate that. Like, where someone's like, you can sort of see their bones through their skin because it's on them so tightly, and that can sort of have this impression that you're talking to a skeleton instead of a person.
Yeah.
All right. Resistance to negative energy and vulnerable to holy energy damage. We're able to teach undead general trade skills and certain profession skills. The necromancer can give any of their personal tier up or level up to an undead instead if the undead is eligible. Okay, so you can kind of train your undead to do more complicated things. Any sort of mental damage related to psychological body horror, terrifying injuries, and death is negated. Okay, so you're immune to mental damage related to dying. What were you saying there?
Oh yeah, I was saying that's an important one. You're probably going to be around a lot of body horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Necromancer arc trade's main focus is on progression of creating undead, controlling undead, and being a medium, using Castlevania Forge Master as the main inspiration, and it is reflected in the trade skills and has rulings on default such as all undead created by Necromancer trade skills are undead abominations, unless taken Forge Thy Flesh. This version of a Necromancer is more on the cultish heretic of God and unrighteous creator angle, as it gives the need to maintain your hand of controlling life, but also the versatility of your creation as the undead last indefinitely till their second death, meaning they can't be dismissed. The creator's death would free them of control, with undead only being man-made and serving as the unwilling tool if created sentient, a slave. Undead creation requires a dead corpse or a dislocated body part as a catalyst for each undead created, and must use a tool of personal worth that can channel dark and manifestal Thaumaturgy to mold it, which was described earlier. And undead are categorized as personally created, mentally possessed, and vacantly controlled. Okay. So, personally created, loyal to you, mentally possessed, they're controlled by someone else, or vacantly controlled, no longer controlled by anyone. Okay. Here's the Necromancer trade skills. Okay, Forge Thy Flesh was that one that was talked about before. Lets you make more powerful ones, reclaim ones, and these have the like apprentice, journeyman, and master levels because they're trade skills, so you have to upgrade them like guild ranks. Right. Okay, reclaim once lost controls how many undead the necromancer can create and the cost of doing so. Recite Thy Grave allows ritual necromancy for mass raising undead or reviving corpses at great cost, like sacrificing another life or the VP of the necromancer. Okay. Thou Art Channeled lets the necromancer use undead as magical conduits and support tools with channelings, which are minor incantations only affected to undead, like Pain Rod, which is mental damage lightning rod to an undead, or Medium of the Dead, which makes the necromancer able to talk to an undead or corpse for 10 minutes. Okay, so you can kind of like use them to like transfer damage into them. Is cool. Beckon to Kneel lets you take over undead. And then it's got some descriptions for builds that we'll cut off there since we've already read this one for a bit.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. I like the kind of journeyman feeling. I do think that like there's a lot of great flavor here, and I guess I'm curious for Maul about the number of features that he'd expect a character to kind of have. Or I'm calling them features, but like we have these trade skills and keeping track of them. I think a lot of these are really cool. Like I think it's fun as a concept that you can make your necromancer feel really different just with like Forge Thy Flesh and Reclaim Once Lost by saying like, oh, I can only control like um, one or two undead, but the ones that I do control are really powerful.
Yeah.
Right? Or I can control a bunch of undead, but most of them are not powerful at all. Just stuff like that. I think that's a lot of fun for like build diversity, even within a kind of subclass, so to speak, that a lot of games just don't really support. And I think a lot of that reason is normally because there's a lot of like cognitive load in approaching that. So I'm really curious how this actually kind of plays at the table with the rest of the system.
I think something that might make this challenging is just the character sheet is probably going to be quite long. If you have 5 professions and each profession has 5 skills that need a more in-depth description.
Yeah.
Although it depends on how much of that you're willing to offload into the rule book. Like D&D
Right.
also has this issue where, you know, like all of these different spells exist within the rulebook.
Right. You
You're not
can't
going to
put
put
them
them
on
on your
your.
character sheet.
Yeah. No.
Um,
So.
but yeah, it is a cool like system of having at least lots of little pieces that you get to put together to make your character and make it really feel like your own and
Like. Yeah.
individually created and powerful.
Very like you get very unique builds. It's not just like, oh, it's another necromancer. It's like, no, this is like a specific flavor of necromancy, or this,
Yeah,
you
like
get
you
to
have
actually
to.
like customize.
Yeah, this one lets you like go wide with more. This one makes them stronger, and recite that grave lets you do like sort of I'm draining my own self or other people to make stronger, even stronger ones than Forge Thy Flesh. Um, or you can use them to like sort of yeah, it's like different little bits of it. And this isn't even touching on like the sort of other like necrotic damage that's usually wrapped into that.
Yeah, that's also true.
Yeah. I need a bathroom break. So I'm gonna do
Yeah,
that.
you take like a 5 minute uh pause and then come back.
Yep, 5 minutes. So we'll be back soon, everybody.
All right.
All right. I'm back, but Denny might need a little longer. Nope, you're there.
Just eating some of my sugar fries from lunch. And I've now relocated back to my previous location, so I'm actually sitting comfortable, and hopefully I'm not gonna just sit there cause people to get motion sickness from my camera shaking more.
All right. You ready for the next one? No, not yet.
Actually, let's go ahead and do the video now.
Sure, we can do that. All right. Oop, that. No, that did not copy over correctly. Okay, hang on. Okay, there we go. Go away. And then you have to go down a little bit. There we are. Okay. Alright, and then that one goes away. Okay, and that one has to scoot down a little bit. There we go. Okay, there we are. Okay, this was submitted by Murray, who is making his own like system that also has like an own virtual tabletop that's attached to it called CARPS, which stands for something that the video will probably explain. So here we go.
Welcome to Building a Necromancer in CARPS. This video has been created for the Tales from Elsewhere January 2026 TCS. Thanks to Peter for his Discord channel and Isaac and Daniel for their streaming efforts. Here I'm going to speed run through the character creation of a 6th level spellcaster, a female necromancer named Rose. She needs to be 6th level so she can pick some cool spells, and at the end demonstrate one of them on an unsuspecting hobgoblin. The data in CARPS is currently set up for a medieval fantasy setting, so a classic necromancer that wields death magic will fit right in. As you can see, when creating a character, CARPS generates them with their details already filled in. If they're an NPC, they're probably right to go without any further adjustment. If you're creating a player character, then the player will probably want to fine-tune them. I mean, who doesn't like a bit of min-maxing? I've just set her to a more appropriate miniature and portrait. Moving on to attributes, the most important attribute for a spellcaster is Int or Intelligence, which determines their maximum spell level. Will or willpower is also important, as will saves can be vital for casting spells and resisting spell effects. Under the physical attributes, Dex or Dexterity is probably the most important, as it affects her defense value and the accuracy of her ray spells. I'm also giving her some more appropriate background and personality options. Personality traits help define how a character sees themselves and treats others. Intolerant, superior, and unscrupulous. Sounds great for a necromancer. We then need to set her skills. CARPS is a skill-based classless system with levels, so every aspect of a character's improvement is defined by their skills. Every time they level up, they get more skill points, and where they put those determines how their abilities improve and expand. Again, the program has randomly assigned their skill points, but we can easily move these around and make sure she's got the skills she needs to wield her death magic effectively. Rose is a classic caster, like a typical wizard, so there is a bit of a skill tree she has to fill out. Without going into too much detail, it looks like the program has already picked up all the required skills. Just quickly, there are 12 spheres of magic, one being necromancy. It is possible to focus on one, making it a favoured sphere, but you then need to pick 3 others that have been neglected, making them foreign spheres. Favoured sphere spells are effectively 1 level higher, while foreign spells are 1 level lower. By taking the casting specialist skill, she's able to make necromancy her favoured sphere. She'll also want to pick some meta magic skills, so she can modify her spells when casting them. I picked multi and ranged, and will use ranged in the upcoming example. Onto spells. CARPS has a fully fledged magic system. It uses spell points rather than slots. Spells have a level, belong to 1 or more spheres, and when cast at a higher level can have meta magics added to them. The spells tab displays all the spells a creature knows. If a creature has favoured and foreign spheres, purple text denotes favoured and grey text denotes foreign. Spells can also be practiced or mastered. Practiced is shown with a white background, and casting them is hazardous unless you have instructions, such as in a scroll or spellbook. Mastered spells can be cast safely without instructions. If casting is hazardous, the caster must make a will save to succeed. Certain critical injuries can also make casting hazardous, as does being hit while casting. For Rose, I've searched for and added some necromancy spells, such as the good old Animate Dead, which the caster can use to create and control zombies and skeletons, and even more powerful forms of undead at higher levels. For this example, however, I wanted to look at another old favourite, Vampiric Touch. Casting Vampiric Touch charges the caster's hand with negative energy, So once while the spell is operating, a touch will sap the life of a target creature and restore the caster's own, healing half the amount of the damage done. Just checking her details again, we can see her full hit points are 42. So, Rose is just chilling in her crypt, minding her own business, when some hobgoblins start raiding the place. She hears them coming and casts her Vampiric Touch spell, but casts it one level higher and adds the ranged metamagic to it, transforming it from a touch spell to a ray spell. She'll now be able to hit the hobgoblins from up to 40 feet away. For this spell, you also get an extra trigger for each 2 levels higher, and since this is a favoured spell, it is effectively another level higher, so she'll also get a second ray. A hobgoblin archer comes into view, moves down the stairs, and lines up Rose so he can take a shot with his bow. They've both taken an action at this point, so I'll run the encounter forwards. The hobgoblin's attack with the bow is a 9, and all rolls in CARPS are 2d10, so his attack will be 2d10 plus 9 against Rose's defense, which is 22. However, he also gets a plus 2 as she's facing away from him. She doesn't try to dodge, so her defense is passive, and I've set the hobgoblin's damage roll to average. The arrow hits and does about 13 points of damage, and inflicts an eye injury. That's a pretty nasty critical actually. She's a bit unlucky there. Until she can source a restoration potion, she's only going to have one working eye. That injury will also hit her with a -2 penalty to ranged attacks until it is cleared. She turns and fires off her Vampiric Ray. Normally she'd only need an 8 to hit, but with that -2 eye injury penalty, a 10 is only just good enough. The hobgoblin takes 19 points of damage, and Rose immediately gets 9.5 points back in healing. Note that negative energy damage can cause burns and necrotized flesh, and in this case it's destroyed one of the hobgoblin's toes. We'll run the encounter forwards again, and the hobgoblin appears undaunted, knocking another arrow. Before he can fire though, Rose unleashes a second Vampiric Ray, inflicting 23 points of damage this time, fully healing herself and killing the hobgoblin outright. The creature collapses to the floor, now nothing more than a blackened shell of necrotized flesh. Well, that's it for Rose the Necromancer. I hope you found this interesting. If you want to know how to build a barbarian, check out my previous video. That's all for now folks, and may your characters always be awesome.
Alright. We've talked about the CARPS system and how involved it is before. That it's not just that Murray's building his own system like many of the people that are submitting stuff for TCS, but he's also building his own like virtual tabletop as part of that. So it's very impressive.
Yeah, watching this, one of the things that just really sticks out to me is I'm really, really curious about how progression works. Because it feels like a lot to track. And I can see like his game probably is not something that you do any kind of progression activity at the table. Probably more away from the table as well. But I do think like the amount of customization that's in there is pretty incredible. And he's also trying to do a lot of things where he's like automating the tracking and automating the steps and turning the things that you want to be quick, and leaving space for a lot of customization. Similar like what we just talked about with DTIMAL. In that aspect, you can get a lot of different ways. Like and just like the metamagic example that he presented for how this Necromancer was fighting in combat.
Yeah. This one is on.
Also, sorry, Murray, if you're watching, I love your voice, and I also think it's hilarious. Like personally, I get this feeling watching you go through these videos. If you've ever watched like people speedrun video games or like play Age of Empires and like high level competitions, it's kind of what I feel like you're doing as you're trying to like rush these 7-minute videos. it's just the experience of it. But we really appreciate the input. Again, we always love seeing your game up here, and we always have like lots of thoughts because a lot of people don't go to that depth for their games because they're not building this native to a actual virtual tabletop. So it's really cool to see something kind of in in a different vein than most of what gets produced. Really appreciate you having you do this.
Yeah, halfway to a video game.
I mean, honestly, I kind of feel like it's 3/4 of a way to a video game.
Just
It's
needs
like
a computer to tell the NPCs what to do instead of a game master.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of a fun thought too, because you're now just, oh, really, that's like the intricacy of the mechanics is the part that I think Murray's really trying to put into the VTT, so that the GM can GM still, and you aren't in a video game land, but you have all of the like depth that you can get in that.
Right. Yeah. You can have the monsters run or stay whenever you want instead of sort of being constrained by whatever the programming is saying. Yeah.
All right.
Back to PDF land. Okay, it is still your turn, but you get to pick now.
Sorry. Yep. Alrighty. We'll do Gamerman's entry.
Which one is that?
It's loading for me. Sorry.
There we go.
All right. Tactics Kingdoms RPG. Tactics Kingdoms is a military fantasy tabletop role-playing game best described as earnest tragedy shaped by human choices, featuring political realism rather than mythic destiny or heroism. Necromancer. What follows below is the raw class info. The brackets explain what the rules mean. Okay. Dark mage who commands the undead. Their magic is a thing to be feared. Basics. Move 3 slow, so the unit can move 3 tiles. And difficult terrain costs 2 tiles of movement. Can't move through treacherous terrain. They have jump of a half. Oh, okay, so no, that's not actually a half. So 1 vertically and 2 1 vertically upwards and 2 downwards without taking fall damage. Speed is 3. Determines turn order if using default turn-based or charge time battle or active time battle. I have questions about that, but I think that's not what he wants to focus on.
I'm guessing this is a game that's inspired by Final Fantasy Tactics, and if you've played one of those games, these numbers make perfect sense.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
understand.
I have
what
not.
Mean.
So, all right. You might. You'll have to give me the elevator pitch on that.
It's a 2D battle map, kind of like any Warhammer or war game, but it's only like there's like levels to it, so like you can jump up 1, is what that's saying, or it can jump down 2. So 1 is like a step up, and 2 is kind of like people are too high. So it's saying it can go up a step and it can go down like a 5-foot drop.
Okay. Or yeah, I was more talking about the speed specifically. I think like jump makes sense to me, but the
same thing. It's an initiative value basically.
Okay. You have hit chance, evasion chance, and then crit chance. Daggers, hammers, cudgels, staves, spellbooks. These are categories, not individual weapons. So like a category could have over 24 weapons of a type.
Yep.
Shields, armor, and then stat. Then there's stat growth, which this I'm familiar with. So HP is a C, but mana's a strength, dex are D, agility I think, and vitality are C, intelligence is A, mind is B, AVD. I'm not sure what that
one. Yeah.
Meant to abbreviate. Is D. I'm guessing that's resilience.
Or resistance.
As an A.
Resolve.
Or resistance. Resolve feels like perception D. Luck would also a C. So, okay, this is a high numbers game, so characters have HP in the hundreds or even thousands, and it's attrition based, there's no wound system. Okay. Their abilities, Necromancy, they are able to use MP and gain Necromancy magic. Elemental magic, dark magic, Master Undead, so they can turn undead units non-hostile. Animate Dead, classic revive stilled units within 2 tiles with full HP. Condemn, prevents revival of all units for 6 turns. Consecrate Dead, prevents a stilled undead unit within 2 tiles from returning to life. Meditate, restore MP. Also, this game has hundreds of paper buttons. A stilled unit is a creature, is undead or a zombie, and receives a d4 turn countdown. Okay, when it reaches 0, the creature then revives with full HP. So the creatures can be permanently destroyed with Exorcism, Holy Wire, Acid, or Fire. TP are tech points, which are points accumulated in combat by certain triggers, and characters can use different TP modes to fit their playstyle. The caster TP mode allows units to gain TP whenever they cast a spell. Okay, all right, so there's just conditions.
Yeah, so it's probably going to be a caster TP for a Necromancer.
Yep. I guess you could do stuff like a fighter TP for Necromancer. I don't know.
One of the funny things here for me is that Consecrate Dead, like preventing another undead from coming back to life, is in the Necromancer category. Usually I think that'd be in like the priest category, as it's sort of like anti-undead.
It's interesting. I feel like, yeah. Also, for it to cost 50 TP is interesting.
It's also a level 22 ability, which is
yeah, feels pretty high, but this is a high numbers game, so maybe that's actually really low if the max level is like 1,000.
Well, if this is functioning similar to how Tactics works, like you have different jobs that you level up, so you might level up to level 22 in Necromancer to unlock that ability, and then you're going to go to a different job after that.
Okay.
But that's me reading into the game more than I maybe should be.
And then there's a list of traits that can be leveled, or they get leveled up at certain level intervals.
Yeah.
Tons of them.
Raw stat kind of stuff. Okay.
And then stat growth defines how much stats you're gaining.
Oh, and there's the different ranks. So like they had C or D for HP, and MP was
right.
A. Okay. Well, we can find avoidance was the AVD one. Okay.
Okay, avoidance. Okay, and then...
No, it wasn't perception, it was personality. Okay.
Oh, personality, okay. And then the spell list is Aura of Pain, Banishment, Bewitchment, Brain Rot, Breed Suspicion, Contaminate, Curse, Death Cloud, Life Tap, Putrescence, Prodigize, Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
That's a fun one. Six Flux, Summon Darkness, Walking Corpse. D minor is the saddest of all the keys. Okay, so and then they have an example of a spell like Summon Darkness. Oh, okay, so he's including price of the Grimoire that teaches you the spell.
Okay.
Got like the standard spell categorization fields like category and type. Cost, range, area, effect, summons a few undead creatures around the caster, chosen from the list below based on the caster's level. Okay, got a pretty long list here. And then here's an example monster.
So this is, what's the order for this list?
Yeah, I don't, it's a little...
It's like by monster type.
It's Yeah, so it's like Ghastghoul, Wraith are all spectral mummies, white skeletons, and dark skeletons,
And all
skeleton
the
knights,
zombies, and then
zombies.
liches. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Those. Yeah, I was like, wait a second. It took me a minute to figure it out.
Then we've got a skeleton as an example. Okay.
Yep. Okay. Lots of detail here. Like more detail, I think, than some of the other games that we've just seen, minus maybe Murray. I'm definitely curious about how, like with the high numbers game, what tools are available to actually manage that kind of attrition system and all of the features. Tons of customization. I think there's still like a lot of the question of like, how, like I'm really curious to see how this would play and like how the resolution works in Tactics Kingdoms.
This is a lot of status immunities for the skeleton. Like I know the undead
Yeah.
often have a lot of them, but this is just also making me feel like, wow, how many different statuses are there? Because this is like 30 of them or something that are listed here.
Yeah. Also, atheist is a status. I'm very interested in what that means.
Yeah, and vampire is another one, and zombie. So the skeleton is immune to, I guess, vampires drinking its blood. That's a status effect.
And zombification.
It makes sense, like from that
Yeah.
perspective, and like it's a mindless creature, so it's immune to atheism because like all of them make sense for why it would be immune. It's just also like this is
I
a
think
lot.
this is a lot. I mean, if a level 2 skeleton has this much detail, there's a lot of detail in this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little hard to read what the Necromancer kind of plays like here. I mean, we kind of know like a lot of the core concepts of a Necromancer, dark spellcaster.
Yeah. So it looks like a lot of its
describe.
abilities are locked behind like what spells you're choosing, because it gets 3 different types of spells. It gets necromancy, elemental magic, and dark magic.
Yeah.
And within elemental and dark magic, there's also missile, indirect, support, and drain magic. And we're just seeing a spell list for necromancy stuff, and
this isn't even like the other spells.
yeah, so summon darkness is just one of the necromancy spells. And there's also apparently a summon darkness 2, because we're looking at summon darkness 1. So it is just a brief look at what necromancers are doing. But
All right.
yeah, I guess it's a lot of the same stuff, and this looks like a pretty good representation of how tactics, Final Fantasy Tactics works, if that's my assumption is correct there. But yeah, this also feels like something that you need like a virtual tabletop to play. It would be very difficult to play this outside of that.
Yeah, I can only imagine trying to do math with like 4-digit numbers at the scale where you're running a skeleton army. That feels extra painful.
Yeah.
I'm really curious how how this would be run. And a lot of this is probably just that I don't have context into like how tactics plays, that it's a little nebulous for me, but we really appreciate the submission, Gamerman. Very curious about like how these pieces kind of connect together in that way and play at the table, and if you're using FETT.
You might be able to construct it with an RPG Maker. That'd be where I would go for it.
That's true.
So I think you can do multiplayer games in that. It would be a sort of odd kind of RPG Maker, because usually that's used for like solo video games, and this would be for a tabletop role-playing game, but I think it would work. And that would handle all the math, and you'd have the right sort of mapping for that like tiered battlefield kind of thing where you're jumping up and jumping down to do things.
also, like one of the things is there's not a lot of a lot of the abilities that are defined in this are very like just here's a set value, right? Only some things are like only like on stat level ups is there like a are we talking about die rolls for a lot of this? So I'm very curious as to like how random is resolution. Well, actually, so we have the resolution system, which is like here's your hit chance, here's your crit chance, here's your evasion chance. Yeah, sorry, I'm wrapping my brain around it. It's interesting. Yeah, because it's very like video game RPG style.
Yeah.
In some of that kind of mechanics. Like it feels kind of like how Morrowind or other like implemented like attack mechanics, or if you're playing like Divinity 2 or something like that.
Well, one of the other things for this like verticality part of the game for the jumping is that if you're higher than someone in tactics, you get an advantage against them for attacking. So that might be where that's coming in.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're limited in what we have access to for the system, right? Because we're just looking at the Necromancer. So, but yeah, the rest of it looks like it'd be cool to find out more and see how it's being represented.
Totally. Who's next?
Next up, let's see. We did that one. We did that one. All right, I'm gonna suffer now. We're gonna do Calicovisions.
Oh. Calico produces documents that the like disclaimers, like, and like this is not shade at all. I think they like as pieces of art they look amazing. But those disclaimers for like seizures if there are too many bright lights. He produces documents that feel like they do that.
Right, yeah. So Calico's whole rulebook looks kind of like this, so it's sort of like the Morkborg kind of presentation of being half art book, half RPG book. But yeah, Psychomortis, which you might be able to read over here. Necromancy. All right. Traditional necromancy does not exist in Psychomortis. Although familiar and similar methods may be present, no existing technology can return life to a corpse. It's important to make the distinction between life and the appearance of life. Much like real life, everything in life has a soul, but those living things can live without a soul. Living with a soul is true life. Once something dies, their soul leaves and moves on. While the body can be animated or the soul consumed, neither are a cycle of life and neither are true life. A body may be able to be animated, but it's the exact same as using metal to create a machine. The meat is a machine. It is a material used to fulfill a specific invented purpose. You do not bring metal to life in the literal sense when you create a robot, do you? You do not bring meat to life. You simply move it and animate it as though it were. When you lose your soul, but don't die in Psychomortis, you begin a long and drawn-out process called pneumatism. Pneumatism is an empty, meaningless life. A life without a soul is no life at all, and a life brought to meat is not life. It is merely an imitation. So within the game, there's like you're trying to improve your soul, but you can also make choices that degrade your soul for like easier survivability against physical threats, but then you're weakened spiritually, and eventually you turn into like sort of a metal monster when you've lost your soul. So the pneumatism refers to like pneumatic technology for like
right,
pumps and gears kind of things. I'm gonna zoom in for reading this part here.
Yeah, sorry, I just noticed they have a little call out. So you want 700 words, huh?
Yeah,
that's funny.
It's a limit, not a requirement. Alright, no, that's a little too close. Okay, there we go. That's good enough for showing up on the stream. Okay, can I hide list it? Nope, that does not make it more readable. Okay, I'll just have to suffer. Here are the rules for creating a pneumata. Your goal was to eradicate the humanity from your victim. This begins with consuming a soul, whether by trading with your victim or tricking them. Once you have stolen a soul and consumed it, your victim will begin their wretched transformation. Each stage of transformation is dictated by the existing pneumatism rules. During each tension roll, you must choose one thought to place inside the mind of your victim. This can be whatever thought you want, and the victim will be 100% convinced that it's their own thought. They may act on it, they may not. At the same time, an opposing angel will inject their own chosen thought. However, they may also choose not to inject a thought at all. Your goal is to eradicate these thoughts from your victim at all costs. Each tension roll, the victim is able to choose a memory, personality trait, ideal, or concept they can use to battle you. The battle is out of your hands, and the victim is likely rather tenacious. This is something for you to kill. Every stage of pneumatic transformation, you must also choose a loss for your victim. This loss must be a memory or emotion. Within those boundaries, the loss may be anything you desire and any experience or memory. The loss will be locked away from the victim as though they had never thought, felt, or experienced it. If the victim loses 100% of their hope, joy, or idealism, they will stop producing energy for you to consume and you will lose, being forced to move on to a new victim. If the victim reclaims their soul from you, you lose. There is no win condition. As long as you've not lost, you are winning. You are feeding. So within the Psychomortis, there's also this play between demon spirits and angel spirits trying to influence people, with demons being more prominent because conflict is fun, and that means we need to have more bad guys than good guys.
As is the right way to have it.
Yeah. Calico had mentioned that he'd gotten some inspiration for writing this part from the Screw Tape letters written by C.S. Lewis. So
yeah, I can see that
yeah.
in the mechanics of how you're like motivated to actually try to harm the victim. Like it's really, it's I don't mean this in a bad way at all. Like it's really disturbing, right? You think about that like as a player, you're doing this, you're choosing to do this to another person, right? It's very,
No, it's happening
very
to
interesting.
this happens to the player character.
Oh, this is what happens to the player character.
Yeah, this is described as if it's like advice to the demon that's affecting the player character and turning them into a pneumatism.
A pneumata?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So another portion of this is like the things it's talking about, like emotions and memories. Those are actual game mechanics within Psychomortis. So it's actually like stripping away parts of your character. It's like a sort of form of HP track, whereas you lose more of those, you become less and less able to proceed through the adventure.
In that case, this is super cool if it's like the main gameplay loop. The fact that like, and the whole purpose of the game in that sense is like just don't turn into somebody's thralled zombie or whatever. Right? This is super cool. Again, like I have to like stop and give props for the art. It's a little hard to read the section on creating a pneumata, but it's pretty hard. I'm gonna be honest there. It's very hard, but the flavor of the document in and of itself gives like a ton of context to like what you want your world and your game to feel like, and I think the way that it's implemented is really cool. Not knowing the details of all of your mechanics, it's something I'm gonna have to catch up on.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a really cool entry.
Oh yeah, Calico's been on my podcast too, so you can check that out if you want to learn more.
Yeah, I'll give that a look.
All right, you're picking the next one.
Yes, sorry, I'm getting back. I'm gonna go ahead and do the Soulcaller Warlock from Nate.
Alrighty. So this one, Nate submitted the whole class. He'd originally submitted a sort of truncated version, which I felt like needed a bit more. So he submitted the whole thing. and we're not going to read all of it because
Okay.
it's how many pages is this?
19 pages.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it says at the top
Okay.
to just look at the blue highlighted parts and try and focus on those.
Okay. So this is taken from a rework of the 5e 2024 Warlock. And the Soulcaller is a necromancy/summoner themed subclass for the rework, which applies to the community spotlight. Skip ahead to blue highlighted headings for most relevant features and design.
Okay.
Just I'll read the concept, and then we'll do exactly that highlight. So warlocks are often talented magic users with excellent arcane ability. However, many of them are pushed to the outskirts of magical societies, either by their own doing or those who fear the true nature of their dark magic. Known to dabble in the darker sides of magic, warlocks explore the places and subjects few consider, such things most wouldn't dare to uncover. To a warlock, it might just be a fascination or an obsession, a means to an end, a necessary evil. Whatever the reason for their studies, it always seems to lead down the same path: discovery of the ancient forbidden art, the art of using the essence of other creatures, of a soul, in performing magic. Okay, I think we'll move on from there. So primary ability is intelligence. Okay. You've got your basic class information here. All right, I'm looking at the feature table.
Similar to the Warlock.
Yep. Essence pool, essence casting, essence absorption, invocations sticking around. You've got subclasses.
We got the highlighted parts for essence pool and absorption.
Yeah. We'll dig into those. So a warlock has a pool of essence points, and they increase with your warlock level, and you can regain their essence points when finishing a long rest or by using essence absorption to drain essence from other creatures. You regain all of your essence after a long rest, and you can never gain more essence than the maximum. After a warlock rests, it's common for plants in the area to wither, native magical beasts to be found mysteriously lifeless nearby, or the surrounding area may feel colder. This is a telltale sign that the creature is practicing this kind of arcane magic. A warlock can only expend a number of essence points equal to the highest level of spell they can learn in a single turn. The highest level you can learn is determined by your spellcasting level found in the Warlock feature table. Essence absorption. A warlock can use an essence absorption option to drain the essence of other creatures and regain some essence. When doing this, you can only regain essence from a creature once until that creature takes a long rest. Any essence absorption is considered a spell for the purposes of creatures and invocations unless otherwise stated. No essence is regained if essence absorption is used on a construct or undead. Creature must possess a soul to be drained of essence. And then you cast spells with essence. We'll go down to the subclasses.
It doesn't say how much you regain by doing that,
though.
I guess.
I mean, looking at the amount of essence, it's probably like 1, right? Because it's 2 essence points, 3, 4, like up to 20.
Okay.
So it's probably like 1 per creature, I'm guessing.
All right. Well, let's keep going.
Your study of necromancy has led you to uncover the mystic art of soul calling. You've learned to call souls of the dead back from the afterlife, and you formed an army of undead soldiers from those that have returned. As your master of soul calling grows, you manage to call back even stronger and stronger souls. And here's your necromancer's horde, right? And grim presence surrounds you as death walks with you wherever you go.
Okay, so the parts we skipped over is the reworked Warlock that we're just looking at a subclass for that for 5th edition D&D.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you get summon undead, right? You got essence costs, and then the specific level of those costs, right? Lesser skeleton, lesser zombie, undead beast or avian, undead knight, mage, or ghost. And then undead champions, or undead lord, or dragon, or a bone colossus. Each warlock level beyond second, you gain a summoning point, and you can use summoning points to improve your summons by choosing enhancements through the list of summon enhancements. And you can swap the enhancements when you gain a new level. Okay, each enhancement has a warlock level requirement and summoning point cost. So, okay, this is fun. So there are enhancements that you can use on your summons to customize them.
Where are those? Oh,
Kind of like
further down. Okay.
Yeah, they're further down. Army of the Dead, you can command an army of summoned undead and track the status of your undead horde using horde rules. And there's a section on that later as well. You use bonus actions to command an army to act on your turn. They have to be in 120 feet of you to follow your commands. If it's farther than that, it becomes a stray undead. And it's just hostile to every living creature. And then they use your spell. Yeah, it's not very far. It gets around a lot of the issue that like a Necromancer wizard has, where you're basically like you just start, collecting corpses and then casting animate undead, and then like 6 sessions later, oh yeah, we have this nice castle keep that we built like in the next country over.
Yeah.
Levels. So Soul Harvester. If a creature dies within 60 feet, you can use a reaction to heal yourself, another creature, or your army of the dead for 2d8 plus int hit points, int modifier hit points, and you must be 60 feet you must be within 60 feet of the creature being healed or your army. So you can use this feature once per long rest or expend 1 essence point to replenish your use of this ability. Okay. I'm curious as to why you would have your arm. Oh, okay, so the army has to be within 60 feet or you have to be within 60 feet. That's not too bad. I was misreading that. Level 10, you can summon an undead champion into your army. Choose between an undead lord, dragon, or bone colossus. Your undead champion can lead your army into battle in your place. As long as creatures of your army are within 120 feet of your undead champion, they can move more than 120 feet from you. You can only have 1 undead champion summoned in your army at a time, and you can peer through the eyes of your undead champion by expending an essence point. When you do so, you gain the senses of your champion.
Oh, okay.
And
so
then the last one
gets around this restriction. Okay.
Yeah, I like that it's kind of a higher level feature too. It stops. It's like you're still kind of stopping.
And there's still a limitation on it. If someone kills the champion, then you lose control.
Right. Undead Fortitude. As a reaction, you can half the damage your army of the.
So you have the damage they're taking, I think, is what that's.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's that they're taking. Alternatively, you can use your reaction to transfer half the damage you take during a turn to your army instead of taking it yourself. If the HP of the army is reduced to 0, the army is on last stand and you take any additional damage. Death thresholds are reached as a result of the damage. Creatures in the army die from the damage. Once used, this feature can't be used again until you finish a long rest or expend 5 essence point to replenish your use.
Okay. And this is part of the horde rules for the last stand and death thresholds.
Okay. We'll dig into horde rules here now. So the horde has 1 HP pool. Each creature has a death threshold. When targeted, if they take this much damage in a single turn, they die. Each type of creature has a count, and when all counts are 0, the horde is vanquished. They have stats. That's 1 set of ability scores and modifiers and saves, as well as shared traits, senses, immunities, and skills. Speed, AC, death threshold, actions, and attacks are based on each creature type. 1d20 for saves, checks, and attacks on the same target. Attacks on different targets may be rolled separately. Each horde creature has its own action, bonus action, and reaction. They all act on the same initiative term. Horde creatures can have empowerable actions, and these become stronger in some way when other specified horde creatures take the empower action. If a horde's HP is 0 and the creature count is 0, creatures is not yet 0. The creatures do not suddenly die. Instead, the horde enters its last stand. While on last stand, any damage a horde creature takes will kill the creature, dropping the count by 1. Horde creatures have their own spaces. Each creature can move independently. Creatures can be targeted individually or by AoE. AoE damage is multiplied by the number of creatures affected. Creatures with lower DTs die first when determining which creatures die from AoE. Actually, that's a great rule. Even if it's not realistic, it keeps things simple. Because that would be the biggest pain point, I think, in trying to run. And that is which ones actually die first.
Yeah. Conditions.
I might steal that rule, honestly. Just flat out. Conditions, they affect only individual creatures. Temporary HP must be reduced before a death threshold can be reached. Damage taken is limited by the death threshold of a target. Healing is limited by the death threshold of a target as well. Okay. We've got the summon enhancement list where you can you increase ability modifiers. You can trigger a creature dying to become an explosion. It's like a toxic bite for zombies. Ghostly Fortitude is a great feature. Just slashing, bludgeoning, and piercing are resisted. Leadership, Undead Volley, and Holy Smite. Holy Smite's fun. Kind of like pseudo paladin, but really there's not a lot of super you have fighters that have I say burst damage, we're talking what I'm trying to talk about is single target massive damage abilities in 5e as a whole. So this is more places where that kind of is available is always fun. Undead mages gain additional magic, and they can cast these other spells. Cool. And then here's a bunch of different summons for that for your horde. So lesser skeletons, lesser zombies, undead beasts, undead avians. We showed a bunch of these. And then you see all the death thresholds. Interesting. Sorry, on the Undead Knight, there's a feature where they actually die first from area effects over on other summon undead. So, but while on last stand, they also gain a +2 to their AC.
Oh, so it's like protecting the rest of your summons.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's pretty elegant because of the way that in ideal state or with the normal rules, the weakest creatures die first.
Yeah, it's also got a higher armor class, so it's protecting them that way.
Yeah. This is, and we've got more standard stuff here for the end creatures.
Oh, there's rules down here at the bottom for essence absorption too, for how different ways to do that.
Oh, okay. Oh, so there's different ways that you absorb essence, and that's why I was saying essence absorption options. I was a little confused.
There's new Eldritch invocations too, but we're getting outside of the scope of what we're trying to review here.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. as like a way to introduce a more necromancy focused class, I definitely agree. Like thematically, the Warlock presents a little bit more towards that vibe, just off the cuff.
Yeah.
I really like honestly, I think that horde rule for AoE, like that is an excellent rule, right? Or just statement that AoE damage kills off lower or creatures with lower DT first when determining which creatures die.
Yeah.
And that simplifies that tracking.
I think that's a good rule. I think the horde rules need a bit more expansion. Like right now they're done as bullet points, and I think it needs a little bit more to be easily understood.
Yeah, like horde actions. I'm like, wait, each horde creature has its own action. Is that each creature type, or is that each individual creature in the horde?
Yeah, and I think it's
Stuff
also can cause like bloat for what, because like
Yeah.
you could have like 10 skeletons or something, and then oh, it's my turn, I get to roll my 10 attacks, and it's just gonna bog down the table a little bit.
Yeah.
So it'd be much better if it was
whenever
one creature type, one attack, and then you use the rules from the Dungeon Master's Guide about how to combine them together to give them bonuses.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit more. Yeah, because what ends up happening is you get the one person that wants to play a class like this, and nobody else wants to play with them, because all right, we're gonna let Isaac take his 10 turns, and we're gonna get our measly one.
Yeah,
right. It's just not quite fun.
Yeah, I mean it's a cool class, but you do want to prevent it from becoming like the sucking up so much of the table time.
Yeah. Yeah, I also really like the you can customize your undead. Like I feel like a lot of times some of the way that kind of stuff is presented is just like, oh, here's a buff that you can cast, and that just ends up being a ton that you have to remember instead, whereas like, oh no, I'm actually gonna expand the little character the stat block for this creature. And I think that's a bit better of a solution.
Yeah.
Overall here. Like I think that with like the scope that you have in I think that's a really great way to handle this. So yeah, excellent work here. Really appreciate the submission.
Yeah.
This is cool.
I think the horde rules and how it interlocks with the monsters is the highlight for me. I think that's
absolutely
independent of it being something that I might want as a PC because of like the action economy stuff we were discussing. As a villain, like as rules for like how to run a necromancer with like a horde of undead, I love this.
Yeah.
And it's not as much as an issue for a game master to present like 10 monsters that they're rolling a bunch of, because I don't know, players are used to them.
I mean, yeah, and the game master, like from what we were just discussing, like like from a game master's perspective, nobody cares if you say, yeah, all of the skeletons, this is their role if you have like 20 skeletons on the board, because then everybody gets back to their turn, even if it's like a great roll and the skeletons do really well in the round. Things are moving faster still.
Oopsies. Video's disappeared because I clicked the wrong thing. There we go. Back. All right. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's a cool one.
And we've got Nate and Aknoll and grilled chicken left.
And one more.
Oh, there's another?
Yeah, I've got 4 left on my count. Okay. Which is this one? Okay. I'll do grilled chicken.
Okay.
All right. This is Mayor Sunny, Twitter Thrush Grilled Chicken. One critter is plenty smart. Critters, though, are unfathomably stupid. And when critters make decisions, honey, that's how wars get started. That's how innocent folk die. Or wish they would. So I think this is an NPC that was created.
Yeah, that's what That's a grilled chicken said.
Yeah, so it's a rat warrior, and its drive is to ensure the frontier remains in peace. How to play Sunny. Smile and pivot. Sunny has a shrewd political mind and knows how to navigate a situation. She isn't one to raise her voice in anger, and knows how to ask the right questions to silence dissension, provoke a confrontation, and make herself look good. Share some cards, hide the rest. Sunny likes to talk about what she knows, and knowing quite a lot is prone to rhapsodizing. All the knowledge in the world isn't worth anything if you don't know when to apply it. However, and Sunny is a master just enough to share interest or deflect attention. Keep friends close. For all her fixations and misanthropy, Sunny believes in units, not lone wolves. She cultivates tight-knit, well-coordinated teams around her wherever she goes. Bring Sunny in as a well-meaning but ultimately manipulative mentor for those that remind her of her youth, or when you want someone to play devil's advocate with a cunning plan, or when you need someone strong to stand toe-to-toe with an important leader. Not sure what these parts mean. Fear +4, fatigue 5, conditions confident, cold, fascinated, obstinate, bewildered, remorseful, eager, disappointed. Techniques: feint as a warrior, evade and observe. Trick your foes into overextending themselves. If you are targeted by any attacks on this exchange, you may mark 1 fatigue to immediately inflict a condition on each of your attackers. Strike an enemy at a weak point where they've already been injured. Mark 1 fatigue to trigger an engaged impaired enemy in reach. They suffer fatigue equal to however many conditions they already have marked. Call the Horde. Here's the important part. Drown a foe in the mindless fury of thralls, living and dead. Mark 1 fatigue and inflict 2 fatigue or 1 condition, your choice, on the target. They also either lose a positive status or suffer impaired as they are knocked off balance. I feel like none of the rest of this really felt like Necromancer until that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting to take the approach from the like social aspect. Like it's several other folks with their entries have mentioned like the kind of outcast nature, like the one that we just did. Talked about it a lot. I think here it's very much like let's turn that on its head, or like, you know, and Call the Horde is something that like you would almost never see Sunny do unless you end up like fighting Sunny or you get stuck in a bind with Sunny somehow. And I think it's interesting for I think the kind of game that Grilled Chicken's going for, where like or at least my perception of what Grilled Chicken's going for here is very much like, oh yeah, there's a very manipulative person that doesn't seem that way to the players, right? They seem like well-intentioned. They are well-intentioned, but they will use you, right?
Yeah.
Overall. And, you know, they have a dark side to them, right? Just kind of presenting that. And it's more convincing because of all of the stuff above where they seem like, oh yeah, they're trained as a warrior. And then all of a sudden they, you know, here's the whole necromancy flavor that just comes out of the woodwork.
Well, if you
It's
read
like,
the
it's
notes
more of a
section, the notes section, Sunny serves as a reservoir host for a colony of spores that exist as a cohesive microbiome that borders on the concept of a hive mind. The exact species cocktail has been endlessly tested and modified over the years as she grew to understand it. Put simply, these spores allow her to manipulate corpses and the minds of the living like puppets. Sunny's plans, if there are any at the moment, are very much in their infancy. She's just perfected her spores and has the sense to not go around randomly grave robbing, murdering, and infecting. She very much enjoys her current simple life, and the last thing she wants is to push all forest into another war. However, the seeds have been planted, her name is known, the designs to come are a massive roiling sea, and she's more than ready to take the plunge. So there's the evil component. She's got like a mind-body control fungal spores.
Yeah, is a walking. It's a walking hive mind that just can infect and take over. Okay, the other interesting thing is Sunny doesn't just control the undead. or the dead.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
The
Can
ability
also
said,
manipulate
yeah, living and dead for the.
the living and the dead, so she can infect the living targets as well.
Yeah.
That's extra creepy.
Yeah, it's
Right.
pretty simple mechanically, because it's just another attack that kind of has a special representation. But I think how it works out of combat feels pretty unique.
Yeah.
And because this is kind of like an animal system, like having it be a rat that's doing this is cool.
Yeah. Grilled Chicken said this was for like an amateur hack of Avatar Legends. Yeah, yeah, right.
I haven't read it,
Like
so.
all of the abilities are listed as moves because it's and I could be wrong. I haven't really looked at the game too much, but it's basically powered by the apocalypse under the covers.
I haven't looked at it, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not super certain. So Grilled Chicken, please correct me. Yeah, I think all of the flavor is super cool. Kind of putting this as a BBEG is fun, and there's a lot of like because of how social this BBG is. It's probably something like I could see this being really fun to play as a GM.
It doesn't even
Right?
have
You're
to be
really
like
getting,
a big bad. It can just be sort of like a side character
yeah,
that's kind of sketchy, and then like if it's relevant, it comes up. If it's not, whatever.
yeah. Honestly, yeah, it doesn't even have to be like the focus. It could just be one of the constraints. Like this could be a patron for the players too,
Yeah.
right? And then you have that like choice of, oh, well, this person is actually really manipulative and like, wait, we thought we were doing this for this thing, but you just had us go get this just to bring it back for you.
Yeah.
What? Why?
Yeah.
Why did we go do that? And you get to like have those kinds of tensions between the players, the player characters in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, so many applications.
All right. Which one do you want?
Let's go ahead and move on to Nate. And again, thanks for it was a great entry, Grilled Chicken.
Yeah.
Like the amount of context there, I think is excellent for running something like that as a GM. Move on to Nate. Sorry, let me find it. I downloaded it and I need to. Okay. Inspired by the flavor of Heroes of Might and Magic, Emperor Palpatine, and the tactics of Magic the Gathering, Suicide Black deck. Okay, the Necromancer is designed using the Knight system for Mythic Bastionland, which follows a strict template for classes, including a poem in iambic tetrameter. The combat system uses a dice pool for damage. Damage normally affects the Vigor attribute. Death occurs at 0 Vigor. When the Spirit attribute is reduced to 0, the Knight is impaired and only contributes a d4 to the dice pool. All right. Enchanted Mouth by Death's Embrace, wagers none but time and place.
Enchanted Youth.
Youth. I thought maybe.
You see the Y and the by in the next word?
Oh. Enchanted Youth. Yep, that is youth. My bad.
How could you possibly think this thing that almost looks like an N is an N?
I mean, there's literally like an N right below it in not, and that's very clear.
It does look more like an N than a Y, but moving
on. Property, Redbone Gambison, A1, Skullhelm A1. I'm not sure what A1 means. The Great of Stake, or Stake Sauce, sorry for that. I'm sure we'll find out below. Totem of Lost Youth, Emaciated Black Steed. Oh, we get a mount as part of the property.
Okay.
Ability, if unimpaired, combat damage that would be done to the Necromancer Knights Vigor is gone to Spirit instead. So always attack with a plus d10, even when impaired, but take the d10 as damage to yourself. Must attack each bolt. If you fall in battle, the location of your death becomes the site of the Lich myth. Restore spirit when crushing the spirit of another is their passion. And then you get a totem of lost youth made out of a material and an emblem. You're knighted by a chained seer, shackled by hands and feet in the lowest depths of the realm's darkest dungeon. Knows the most shameful secret of all the members of the realm. Takes penance for a crime of ages past that can never be atoned.
I really don't know what to make of this.
Yeah, so I get the like suicide black deck concept, I think mechanically. I think it's just a little bit nebulous to me as to like, but it feels very very focused. There's not really.
I mean, there's got to be more based off of the rest of the rules that feel like this would connect better.
Yeah.
Because right now, it's like as presented, this just seems like a reckless melee fighter mechanically, and I mean, you have to have this part be relevant of like the chained seer that knighted you and is like some sort of evil prison kind of thing, and you know, you're wearing bone armor and have an emaciated black steed for your mount. Like, that's all kind of creepy. There's a lot of like creepy aesthetics to this, but from a mechanicalist perspective, it's kind of just a melee fighter.
Yeah, with the one passion where they restore, basically they, if unimpaired, anything that they get damage with for vigor, which if their vigor reaches 0, they die, right? So it instead goes to spirit, but whenever you hurt the spirit of another creature, you restore spirit.
Yeah. So I guess that's
Almost.
encouraging evil action.
Yeah, or maybe I didn't understand it. So I'm curious how they deal damage to enemy spirit. I think that's probably the part that I don't understand that would maybe make this a little more clear to me. But I think it's like a cool concept for a Necromancer Knight. I think it fits in that category with the poopy aesthetics, and then just you heal your spirit when crushing the spirits of others.
Yeah.
It's just a little hard to.
I do like the presentation of like having a tarot card and the little
the
poem at the
presentation is
beginning,
really cool.
and even just having this like the being offset up at the top is like, it's just very good presentation for it.
Agreed.
Even if we can't read the Y.
Yeah, even if I'm an idiot, it looks great.
Yes, it does look very
don't.
cool, and I kind of get like the aesthetics for what it's going for. It's just it feels like it's missing a mechanical component to it that, like you said, might be present somewhere else within the rules for the system that we're just not getting.
Yeah.
But
I think it. Again, I'm following on. Like, I think it really does convey the aesthetics. Like, I do think the poem, like, I feel like I'm, thinking like with the poem and the like calligraphy and the tarot image. Like, I'm very much thinking of like, King Arthur's court, and then all the like super creepy like the Knight in Black kind of aesthetics that comes with it. So, like, selling the vision for this class, I think like they did a really good job on that.
It's a knight that's made some sort of pact with the devil and is ready to die, and can sort of survive longer by hurting other
Taking
people.
the spirit of it. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to do the one that I think you were missing, which is by Sophie M. Not sure what her name is on the Discord server.
Is it? Oh, did it get posted in the main channel?
It might have.
Is that why? Okay, that's why I was not seeing it.
Okay. She posted a link to a website, so I downloaded a PDF of the website. And what we're going to review isn't the whole thing, because it's a bit of a long article. I have it up at the top. We're going to review the last section of it.
Okay.
So scrolling down, we're doing this part. Sometimes they might return. Alright, there's another community spotlight going on the Discord server for Tales from Elsewhere until the 6th of March. Woohoo, this one, about necromancy. While the Weitstein setting is like all Heartbleed story worlds, conceptualized with soft magic in mind. Thus, we are not looking at magic spells, but how the people on the planet of Gaia think about this topic. Overall, sapient life is understood to have 3 sparks that reside in 3 chakras within the body. Loosely, they represent the cognitive functions of the mind, with the spark of reason, the life force of the zest with the spark of passion, and the moral intuitions of the soul with the spark of integrity. The chakra for the reason is the brain, for the passion it is the heart, and the integrity is in the abdomen. That is why the gut feeling is related to conscience. In death, the 3 sparks disappear. First, the reason is gone after only a few short minutes. It is believed to wander through the labyrinth of the underworld for a while sorting out the experiences accumulated throughout life. If it cannot find rest, then the mind might haunt the living as a ghost. Second to fade is the passion. It leaves with the warmth of the body and in the nutrients it can provide to carrion-consuming beings. And then there is the integrity, which gets, after about 40 days, reabsorbed by the divine source, the Anoia. Resurrection or reanimation are rare, but possible. To get the mind back, it is usually needed to travel to the underworld and find it. The zest is probably best replaced with other sources of life force. Most common is simply infusing the heart with a demon spirit. But the passions could shift with this replacement zest. The demons, or more sinister forces, might bring back the soul before the 40 days are up, but after that it becomes only possible for truly depraved beings to have their souls suffer in a purgatory state because the reunion with the divine has not happened yet. If the reunion is complete, the reanimated entity will remain without a soul, which is why undead are so often considered to be evil. Occasionally forms of undeath happen when one or more of these sparks malfunction or leave the host while they are still alive. The fiends of Sylvania suffer from a deficit in life force. Thus, they got that name for their precatory practices, and yet they are still about to go extinct. Fiends of Dane Sylvania, I think. Okay. Alright, and that's it. So we have 3 sparks for brain, reason, passion, and integrity. And you can sort of get different undead types for each of the 3. Or each can sort of individually be one. So like brain can be a ghost.
I think it's not just like the different types that come out of it, but I do think there's like a bit of a hierarchy that's kind of established as well. Right, like the mind is the first to go, and it's the hardest to get back. You have to travel the underworld to find it. You can replace the passions with other sources of life force. So, like infusing the heart with a demon spirit, but the passions could shift as a result.
Yeah. So they came back but changed.
Or like it also, I think I'm a little confused on like the demons or more sinister forces might bring bring back the soul before the 40 days are up.
Well, so for it to be still around after 40 days, that means that soul has to have gone to purgatory instead of being reabsorbed. So to be still around after 40 days, it has to be an evil person, basically.
Oh, okay.
Because otherwise they'd just be gone.
So the souls have to actually not be good, right?
The only way to resurrect someone after 40 days is if they're an evil person.
Okay. All right. That makes a lot more sense. I was rather addled.
It's a bit more spiritual and esoteric than some of the other ones that we're covering.
Yeah, it is. I think it's a lot of fun, at least to conceptualize the nature of the soul, right? Which, at least with what we have
Mm-hmm.
from a scientific perspective, is to like approach a topic like that is rather difficult.
Well,
And
my
I think it's
perspective.
also very indicative of like the world in which Sophie is presenting. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm curious about like how you, this seems to indicate that there's sort of like we have three pieces, so you could look at the three by themselves for like how they function. So like the mind is the reason is ghost, and what's passion, what's integrity when those are by themselves. And you can also look whenever one of them is absent. So what is the body like without the
Yeah.
reason? What is it like without passion? What is it like without integrity for like different sorts of like soul monsters? Not just like, oh, that person has no integrity, but more like that being lacks integrity entirely. What does that mean for how that would be portrayed as like a monster or a villain of some kind?
Yeah. Because it almost feels like the integrity is in some way the soul as the moral component that relates with like the divine source.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and whereas like the passions are like I feel like the passions are kind of separate.
Yeah.
So I feel like you kind of have to have the moral aspect of it, at least with the way that it's being described here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a matter that like it probably is not going to have a mind in most cases, but it's always almost going to have passions that could shift as you infuse it with other passions or other, you know, souls or soul force or passions.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's cool.
I
Yeah.
think that part is interesting
Yeah,
as
I'm
well.
curious to
Kind
read
of
more
like,
about it.
um, yeah, like I think mechanically it presents some fun options too, in diegetically, like, hey, you know, I'm gonna feed this undead the souls of a bunch of demons instead, right? And so it's gonna absorb those qualities, that sort of thing.
Yeah. All right. We got
Awesome.
one left, I think.
Yes. Let me pull it up. So that was Drudenfusz. Last one here is Aknoll. All right. Pulling it up. Ooh, very medieval. I feel like it's not Scion, it's another one of the like not RuneQuest or Call of Cthulhu, but it's built on the Chaosium games. I can't remember.
Yeah,
Pendragon.
Pendragon. Yeah.
Pendragon. That's the one.
Yeah. It's
The
Pendragon's
many
rulebooks aren't this fancy. This is very nice.
this is very nice. Pendragon should look at this for inspiration. Um, Also, sorry, the calligraphy choice is excellent. It looks very good. Um, Lies have consequences. Whatever someone tells you, there's no white lie, only a gradient from pale gray to the darkest pit of infamy. And some of the darkest lies start a cascade of unfortunate consequences: war, death, famine, and all things humanity knows all too well. One of those consequences can be the destruction of a place, a house, a village, a city, or even an entire country. And when such things happen, the one responsible for the lie that began it all may feel drawn to what was ruined. On the wasteland, he will plant his feet in the dirt and refuse to leave. Over the course of an hour, the liar will expand, his ribs deforming into the shape of a building, his eyes taking the place of windows, his legs becoming foundations, his tongue splits again and again until it populates the new creation. Each object that was destroyed replaced by one of these tongues taking its shape. And this is how the tale of the many-tongued is told across the continents. Worse still is the fate of those who dare enter the maw waiting for them. Pillagers salvage scraps from a village and see the inn standing spotless. They step inside thinking they've found the last untouched corner of the dead place. They would see a normal inn, as if no slaughter had ever taken place, but all words they spoke would be the opposite of what they had thought. One would say he intended to keep every spoil he found, and a fight would ensue. Every attempt to rectify the misunderstanding would only pour oil in the fire until one of them committed the irreversible. Blood on his hands, he would hear the voice of a man in another room. And when he would look inside, every object around him would have transformed into his fallen comrade, each one wielding the same knife he used to extinguish the other, irony plunging deep into his heart. Many tales speak of those who met their doom by entering a many-tongued, but one differs, the tale of the boy who came back home. The boy returned to his village devastated by war, and found his home spotless. He entered, searching for his parents. His mother was there, waiting for him, smiling, yet he knew something was wrong, because when she spoke, the voice came from another room. He turned to flee, and his mother pursued him, driving him toward the room the voices emanated from, his bedroom where his most precious wooden toy lay, red and beating. He destroyed it, and the many-tongue fell, but no one came back. If I remember right, I think Aknoll said this is more of a world-building piece.
Yeah, well, obviously.
Yeah, I think this is an excellent excerpt, like a monster description. It's kind of like, it gives the same kind of like false Hydra sort of vibes, that sort of thing. This is a fun monster as a whole.
Okay, so it's
And I
a
love
person
the like
that turns into
conception
like
of it.
a ruin that then people come and steal things from, and then the objects kind of curse them.
Or well, they become a monster house that just it tries to attract more people, or it ends up attracting people because it's in a wasteland, except it's perfectly pristine. So there's got to be some good stuff in there. And it causes that which they say to be not true. Like, hey, I don't want anything in here. We should leave. I want to get would turn into, I want to get everything in this place and keep it for myself. And we should not go until we do that. Right? Like, it turns like the things that you would say into other statements, and then it's a question of like, can you work around those misunderstandings? I think as an encounter, that could be like a fun social roleplay where everything your character says gets turned into the opposite statement, right? Like a complete inversion or an untruthful statement. It'd be a little hard to do. It takes a little bit of like buy-in from the players, but it'd be it's a really cool scene.
Yeah, you could definitely expand this into like a longer sort of spooky short story.
Yeah.
Or yeah, design a TTRPG monster based around it. Yeah, that's cool.
Also the like medieval like the calligraphy, I think that also helps sell. Like you feel like you're reading parchment, so it's kind of like a historical document in some ways.
Yeah.
I'd love to see some like it half eaten or something, just to as a little another nod. But yeah, no, this is an excellent entry, a fun concept, and a great little piece of world building. And with that, that's all the entrants.
Yeah.
We had some really great ones this round, and we had a lot, but it was really cool to see all the work that everyone's did for this, and all of the fun designs and the little quirks and focuses that they took kind of towards this concept or this subject matter. Really excited for it. Or really excited for the next one already.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Big thanks and shout out to all the folks that entered. We appreciate you, and this was a ton of fun to read. Even if I can't realize that it was a Y. Okay, it was very clearly a Y. If I took more than just like a second to look at it,
it was not clearly a Y, man. I completely see where you're coming from for it.
but with that, we'll go ahead and our next theme is Isaac.
Shields and cover. I managed to
Shields and
download the
cover.
thumbnail and get it ready. So yeah, Jakob, who did the Seeking Dao entry on Jiangshi, made this for us. But yeah, our next topic for quarter 2 is shields and cover. So we're gonna make a thread in the Tales from Elsewhere Discord. You can also submit in the Setting the Stage Discord for this, and that'll be taking stuff until the 6th of June.
Yep, and we'll put a little, or we'll put, keep your eyes open for like guidelines and requirements. It's going to be in the same document that this one was for. I just haven't gotten around to updating it, but you'll see an announcement in the TFE Discord when we finish that. But yeah, we're really curious to see how you handle this. Like also it kind of has a lot to do with like how ranged combat works. I know a lot of like fantasy games are very focused on melee, so I think it's like an interesting design exercise if you don't have these rules figured out in your system yet. I'm really looking forward to seeing how everyone approaches this as a whole.
Yep. And you can do shields or cover or both, but that's going to have the same restrictions of minute for videos
700.
or 700 words for written stuff. Yep. And
So
I was telling Danny earlier that I wanted to do this one because I want to enter it myself because I need to write these rules for my system. So
I'm also I wanted to do this one. I just the Necromancer one, but I couldn't. But I am gonna do what I can to get in on this one. IRL has just been really busy, so I'm looking forward to. I also need to write these rules for my system. So we appreciate everybody that hopped on the stream and joined to watch, all the comments, and looking forward to doing the next one. And we'll catch y'all on the TFE